Well, that's strange.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Broadcasting straight to you from the mothership currently hovering over Devil's Tower in Wyoming. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, the creator of Flat Earth Clues, which proposed that all of us are living inside a Truman Show enclosed structure thousands of miles wide. Excuse me. Check it out at enclosedworld.com or just Google Flat Earth Clues. My wingman, once again, I can't get rid of him for the show, is Jonathan from Jersey. How's it going, man?
Good, man, except I'm not from Jersey today.
No, where are you right now?
I'm in Venice Beach area, California, and it looks just as flat as Jersey. I mean, I flew here. I didn't see any curvature of the earth. Time is off. Yeah, imagine that. Yeah, no, world's still flat in my world.
Fantastic. Gonna do something new to start the show, just because I said I would do that for, because I've never really asked for any money. I only asked for cookies, and believe it or not, some people have sent me cookies, and I have eaten them despite my mother's protests. She says only eat store-bought cookies. So I'm gonna do a quick shout out to the cookie people. There was 3 people that sent me cookies recently. Tom from Blytheville, Arkansas, sent me a thing of regular Oreos. Nathan from Dixon, Illinois, who sent a somewhat smashed box of Nutter Butter. For those of you sending cookies, please understand that the post office is not careful. And a special shout out to Derek from, and I'm going to butcher this, either Marson or Marcon, France. Actually sent me a box of Saint Michel cookies all the way from France. I'm sure the postage costs more than the cookies themselves. Thank you guys very, very much.
Hey! I like cookies. I'm just saying.
But if people send you cookies, you're not going to eat them.
Why? Because I'm fat?
No, because you probably wouldn't trust them. You'd probably say,
That's
"Oh,
true.
yeah, no, I'm willing to take the bullet here. I'm willing to eat the cookies, even though they might be, dangerous." So
I could always buy a guinea pig. Isn't that where the term "being the guinea pig" comes from?
No, we are not. We are not letting animals test the cookies. That would be silly. So we are continuing from last week's show. This will be the conclusion of this series, which is the end of the world in film. And that is, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I firmly believe that anybody who's a true conspiracy guy or gal has really got to watch a few of the great end of the world films that are out there, just to get your head around it. Because I guarantee that at least one of the movies, especially tonight, because we're doing the top 25, will move you, will rattle your cage, will get you thinking in a different direction. Maybe you'll think, oh, hey, I hadn't thought of that. People think, zombie movie is like, well, as long as I have enough bullets and maybe a crowbar, I'll be fine. But if you cover enough topics, you get it in your head that, hey, there's a lot of different things that can happen. I still believe that the greatest apocalypse movie, will never be made, either a Planet X movie or an enclosed world movie. So,
well, let me just say something. With that, I'm almost a little nervous being out here with San Andreas coming out last week, and I'm in California, and I'm doing this list. So it's kind of like I'm tempting fate.
That's fantastic. And if we do lose Jonathan because of a San Andreas shift, I'll be sure to report it and have the exclusive.
And all the prepping we talked about for weeks goes out the window, because now we didn't talk about what happens when you're not near your prepping site.
Yeah, Oh yeah, no, I believe, I
Stranger in a strange land.
yeah, I was a prepper for years, and yeah, that's one of my favorite things. Like, well, no, I've told my neighbors, as a matter of fact, look, if something happens and I'm away, feel free to just loot and pillage because I'd rather you have it than somebody else. So
Right.
what we're doing is last week, we did the bottom 25 through 50 of our favorite end of the world apocalypse movies and why we liked them and discussed in great detail. And we played it like a game of war. So I would rattle off one, and then Jonathan would rattle off one, and then we'd kind of debate who had the better one, and then that they would take the card. And I'm currently I'm getting my butt handed to me, 15-7, with the other three being a tie. And initially, I thought I was just playing it badly, but I know better, and that's because Jonathan has special abilities, and by that meaning he took paranormal training at the agency, where I took just regular tech training. So I could drone strike you, 6 days a week and twice on Sundays, but
I would know it was coming.
exactly, you'd know it was coming, so that counteracts the whole thing. So
kind of like Next. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get right into it. Let's see if I can catch up to that horrible score, 15-7-3, and we'll go back and forth this time. So I'll read off one, and then you'll start the next one, and we'll go from there. So
Cool.
number 25 on my list. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Ready? Number 25 on my list. I don't think you actually have on your list at all, and this is sort of a dark horse pick, but it just slipped in there. As a matter of fact, somebody was emailing me earlier and said, "What about this movie?" And I actually had it on my list. Like, oh, that's funny because it's number 25 on my list. Number 25 for me is The Colony, 2013. Did not do much in the theater. That's with Lawrence Fishburne and Bill Paxton. And for those of you who don't know the plot, forced underground by the next ice age, a struggling outpost of survivors must fight to preserve humanity against a threat even more savage than nature. And my summary of it isn't quite that. My summary is like it's the day after tomorrow plus several years. So it's the gritty version of the day after tomorrow without.
Wow.
So that's what I have for number 25.
I've never even seen that movie, but when I get home, I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
Huh.
No, it's pretty bleak. Lots of snow and ice, and basically, yeah, what happens, to those people that were stuck in the northern hemisphere, after the day after tomorrow started. So anyway, what are you going to counter it with, my man?
Mine was a propaganda movie, I think, for advocating carbon credits and global warming. So totally opposite. I went with Wall-E from 2008, where everybody dies on Earth, and the remaining few are on a cruise ship, getting ever fatter and lazier.
Wow, that's an interesting one because and what year was that? 2008?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wall-E from 2008. That's an interesting pick because one, I think it's one of the only animated movies we have on our list, and two, it's an interesting premise because they don't really talk about it as post-apocalyptic. But yeah, the future is in heavy doubt. But because it's a Pixar movie, and it did a happy ending. But interesting pick.
But interesting, yeah. Besides the life forms, there was even no plant life or anything, and that was what was special about it. And the probe comes down, and
yeah.
So this is totally desolate.
Yeah. No. I dig that, and I admire you for actually trying to pull an animated movie out of there. But I'm taking the win on that one.
Okay.
Sure. But that's a good film, and you're right, and it wasn't on my list. That's surprising. And I missed that because you're absolutely right. Yeah, everybody joked about that movie. Pizza in a cup. So many great things. And
Sure.
Sigourney Weaver as the voice of the computer.
Yes.
Fantastic. All
right, you got it.
Okay, so thank you. I'm taking that one, and I'm hoping that'll be a trend, but we'll find out. So you get to lead on the next one. What's number 24 on your list?
Or you had this on your list last week. Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, 2012 version.
Oh. All right.
Remember, same two deck cards, so it's bound to happen.
Yeah, Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. You're right. And that was 2012. Steve Carell, Keira Knightley. and an interesting take. And there's a darker version of that which actually features higher on my list. But Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, it's one of those things that most conspiracy people don't check out because it was kind of meant as sort of like a I don't know what even you describe it, a romantic sort of comedy in a way because
bittersweet tragedy. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, bittersweet tragedy. An interesting film. All right. I counter that with, and I'm going to leave it up to you if you decide on the winner on that. And that was also something on the list from last time, and that was 2012, the movie, which was actually done in 2009, which of course still screws me up to this day. So 2012 with John Cusack and a host of other cast members, where they covered the end of the world because of an internal tectonic shift, and lots of people died, and almost a total body count. So what do you think?
I'm thinking if we pull a card, this is the way I'm rating it. If we pull a movie that is in its finality of the human, race, then that should be the trump card. Because I think in 2012, there were people that escaped on an ark, and they were going to Africa.
Good point. You're right. And with Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, even though it was a romantic, bittersweet tragedy, comedy, whatever it was, you're right. It was a total wipeout because literally at the end of the movie, the meteor hit, and that was it. It was a total wipe.
Right.
So you're probably take it. You got a point there because at the end of 2012, most of Africa survived. On that one, and the coastlines of Europe and America, they all got trashed. But and there were a small group of Americans, got out, which is very important. All right, so my next one, and I got to look it up just to make sure I get the cast right, and this is number 23, is another dark horse pick, and a lot of people didn't do that well in the theater, but it was an intriguing film for me. Which was Children of Men, 2006.
That's on my list, yeah.
Oh, okay, so we'll probably see that again later. 2006, Clive Owen, Michael Caine, some other actor, Julianne Moore was in it. It was an interesting film. It was set in 2027 in a chaotic world which women have become, for whatever reason, infertile. A former activist tries to help transport a miraculously pregnant woman to a sanctuary at sea. So basically, the short version is because of sterility on the women's side, we were gonna die out within a couple of generations, and so people slowly but surely, the population just started getting older and older, and it was a real problem. But I thought it was a great little flick. So, what are you countering that with?
You know how I feel about this, and I hate zombies, but I went with Zombieland, 2009.
2009.
And then, again, zombies. The problem with zombies is, you never know the blast radius or the infection radius. The whole world could be hunky dory on another continent.
Yeah.
Unaffected. Again, depending where it hits. If it hits a first world country, you're upsetting the economy.
Yeah.
There's always a band of people that are survivors, but there's thousands upon thousands of zombies, which are as good as dead. They're just the Walking Dead, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you play it. It's not like Waddies where the zombies have a chance to come back.
Yeah. No, I like Zombieland. That was on my list in the lower half, and I didn't. I included so very few zombie movies. There's a ton of them out there, but as far as worldwide zombie movies go, it was about as cleverly made. And again, for those of you who were living under a rock and did not see Zombieland with Woody Harrelson and Emma Stone and Bill Murray and oh crap.
The guy that was in Facebook movie.
Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg.
Yes.
It was a great, funny, well-written. Woody Harrelson, of course, stole the show. Up until the part that Bill Murray entered the picture, and even though he was only in there for like 10, 15 minutes, he was great.
I mean, it's funny because like I said, both populations had were both decimated, but in different ways. Yours was like slowly dying off in Children of Men under a fascist one. This one was kind of like anarchy and people were dying off. I guess in the
Yeah,
same way.
yes, that's a tough one. Do you wanna call it a
You
tie,
want
or you wanna do rock paper scissors over the air on this one?
to?
I'm willing to,
Oh,
or
that's a good one. I'll do a rock paper scissors. I'll say we threw down eights. These are about eights
yeah,
in a deck, and all right, go.
but we're not. Yeah, we're not gonna do ties this time. We're gonna go for it because
Oh, really?
well, yeah, we're not
Oh,
gonna do
you
ties.
need the win real bad. Okay.
I need the wins, so I need.
Okay. So rock paper scissors on three. Ready?
Okay, ready? One,
One,
two,
two, three.
three.
Scissors.
Frick,
Oh,
paper.
were you gonna say paper?
No, I got paper. So,
Okay.
and I physically did on my side. So, and of course, why you folks will see if we have to do this again. Why I don't like doing this with him, and that's
Don't
because
play with a psychic.
yeah, don't play with the psychic. So, all right, you get the win on that one.
Cool.
Yeah, that was probably a terrible idea on my part to do rock paper scissors, but that's fine.
But I'm
Uh,
thinking of a color.
the what?
I'm thinking of a color.
Funny. Funny. Okay. You get to start on number 22.
22. I think you called this one last week. 2000. Well, I'll just say the movie first. Oblivion, 2013.
Oblivion.
Everybody's gone.
Yeah. Oblivion. For those of you who need a recap on that, 2013. Tom Cruise and his big sci-fi push that he's been doing lately, and he's been doing a nice job, in my opinion. Tom Cruise, Morgan Freeman, Olga Kurylenko, and of course, oh crap, I cannot remember her name. Emily Blunt. Oof,
Yeah.
I almost missed that one. And where basically the world was taken over by aliens, who more or less just set a bunch of earthquakes in motion. For those of you who want the backstory, but you didn't see that part. And then since the infrastructure went down, and Morgan Freeman explained it, the people just pretty much starved. You know,
Well, no, was that like a supercomputer that they had built to monitor the Earth? Like, how did that come?
well, yeah, that was later. So initially, they wiped out the population just by hitting them really hard with a tectonic blast. But
Okay.
you didn't see that. That was all done, off camera.
All
And
right.
then they said everybody starved. Most of the people starved. And then what they'd done was they'd taken the reason they even knew about Earth was they had taken an astronaut hostage, Tom Cruise, and cloned him. And so they turned him into a bunch of soldiers, which you also didn't see a whole bunch of, and they just, sent this Tom Cruise army onto the planet to mop up the rest of the people. And then while they were harvesting the Earth for its resources, they had the giant supercomputer, which was it was a machine that was basically running the whole thing, hovering above the Earth. And it's a neat plot. I don't want to get into it too much, but it's a neat story. Well done. So,
All right, what do you got?
I'm countering it with another one that's well known, and that is Knowing, 2009.
You got it.
You think I got it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You think?
Yeah, knowing that was it, it was game over, man. It was like the sun and boom and not on a platter.
Yeah, you're right. Well, okay, one, it was total. There was no happy ending with Knowing. 2009, and let me recap that one real fast. MIT professor John Koister links a mysterious list of numbers from a time capsule to the past and future disasters and sets out to prevent the ultimate catastrophe. Interesting movie, and I saw that in the theater, and I walked out. That was one of those movies that I was thinking for a while. Nicolas Cage, Rose Byrne, great little flick. Where at the end, and one of the reviews was on it, and I thought it was really great. Was that it?
I know what you're gonna say.
What? Oh, that it didn't. It didn't.
Something about a Swedish rock band. Looked like a Swedish rock band saved. Oh no, go ahead.
No, no. That the movie didn't blink. Basically, it got to the end, and it could have gone a happy ending, and it didn't. It was some of the children got taken off the planet ahead of time, kind of a biblical setting. They went that route, but the rest of the planet burned and burned hard, and it was the ending came super quick. When it escalated, they just went from everything was fine to the emergency broadcast system to the solar, and it basically was a solar wind, which doesn't happen in an enclosed system.
And when you say that, I thought that ending was so corny and cliche. Like, really, you just made a great movie, and that's what you allude to, like the Tree of Life, and the beginning of male and female. Like, come on,
dude, you're out in Hollywood right now. You know full well that unless you're going for the Academy Award, which most people look it up, Academy Awards are usually based on tragedy. Um, the happy ending. There's too many producers that will pull up short and go for the happy ending. That being said, though, it is still well liked. That movie.
I love the movie.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
I know the last 60 seconds. Yeah, it was a little sappy and a little corny, but up until that point, I mean, let's put it this way: it was not nearly enough. It didn't take the edge off nearly enough for me to ruin it. Because after you watch the entire East Coast get burned by a solar flare, I mean incinerated by a solar flare, and then
I just never liked the I'll intervene and interfere, but I don't want to intervene and interfere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because at that point you had children that they were only taking up, and they could have educated them and cultivated a better life for them to be a better populace. Like, what are you going to do? Repeat all the mistakes of Earth?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's like,
I know. Which of course is another reason why, and I know people keep saying, well, there shouldn't be an enclosure. There can't be an enclosure. And I'm going, man, you have not watched enough movies and television to understand what type of people we are. I mean, go back to, the early movies, and we'll touch on that on some of the later stuff, which is even the early movies from the 50s said that we were not a race to, I mean, look at all Rod Serling's work from the Twilight Zone. He was a great guy when it came to displaying the human condition. And more often than not, he showed it as, it was pretty harsh. So, you started the last time, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so you got that one.
Yeah. So we're split. I'm never going to beat you, but that's all right. All right. My next one, number 21. Is a movie that made me look twice at anybody that coughed in front of me, which was Contagion 2011. And big cast with that because I believe it was a Steven Soderbergh movie, which meant pretty much all the actors in the world would do it for scale. So
Sure.
You had Gwyneth Paltrow, who didn't last very long, Matt Damon, Lawrence Fishburne, Jude Law, just goes on and on, and it's really about just a regular worldwide garden variety epidemic, much like the Spanish flu, only a little more aggressive is the word. And how it spread around the world, but they really kind of focused on the United States in this, and it was interesting, watching what happens in a disease type area where the world was in jeopardy. They didn't know where it was going to go, and the egos involved in creating a vaccine, and I thought it was a pretty solid movie. So what are you countering that with? Number 20.
And I might have a chance. Number 21, Independence Day, 1996.
Oh, wow, that's there's some contrast.
And in both scenarios, again, we might be at a tie on here because both the entire Earth didn't die. There was a massive die-off.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what the contagion was contained at. Do you remember what number it was?
Oh, you mean how many people died in Contagion?
Yes.
I think it was tens of millions, but I don't think it was like 10% of the population or anything like that. So definitely there was a higher count in Independence Day because all the major cities of the world got roasted.
Right, and was there an EMP? I forget if there was an EMP in Independence Day. I know there were. Well, no, because there were vehicles flying around and driving around, but all the major cities were destroyed. All the armies were decimated.
Yeah.
Anybody who fought with a jet or.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, it might be a tie, just in different ways.
Maybe. And by the way, I've got to do a quick thing, on the cast of Independence Day, which is, still a great cast. Will Smith, Bill Pullman, Jeff Goldblum, Mary McDonnell, Judd Hirsch, Randy Quaid, Vivica A. Fox, just Brent Spiner, tons of little sci-fi references. It was a great movie.
I'll tell you what, you can have this one, and I'll tell you why.
No, I'm not taking this one.
No, you have to.
Why?
For 3 points, aggravates the heck out of me. First of all, if you've ever driven from New York to Washington D.C., it's impossible in traffic to get anywhere.
Yeah.
You're not getting down to D.C. in 5 hours. And he was driving in the fast lane slow. People are honking at him. That was the first point. Second point, a Mac computer taking out an alien mothership for the delivery system. I mean, back then you couldn't even get Macs and PCs to play nice.
You know, I'm going to take that because you're right. You're right. So you're giving it to me on plot holes, and Steven Soderbergh is known for having almost no plot holes.
Right.
The man is an incredible director. Independence Day, again, made a ton of money by comparison, but you're right. There were plot holes in it that were big enough to drive a spaceship through.
Yeah, I just didn't like it. And then and I'll give you the third one. The third one, and this is interesting because he's now in conspiracy circles. Randy Quaid.
Yeah.
How people kept making fun of him and thinking he was crazy, even once it was announced to the world that aliens are here and you could see the ships in the sky. Yet they were still treating him like he was nuts when he said he was abducted. It's like, really? Like, what more evidence does the guy need?
Good point. Good point.
So,
and he got redemption, of course, in the end by sacrificing his plane to
right.
Yeah. No, and you're right. There were some corny lines in it. Again, it was an epic. My only disappointment. We got 30 seconds till the break. My only disappointment was that the trailer. If anyone wants to have some fun, go on YouTube and look up the trailer for Independence Day, which was outstanding. I just was drooling at the trailer. But when it got to the actual movie, I was going, you could have been so much darker. So anyway, we'll be back with more end of the world in film. We'll see if I can keep catching up.
X Squared with Brooks Agnew. Sundays on Truth Frequency Radio. Welcome back to Strange World. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, back with Jonathan. We're talking about the end of the world in film. We are playing War. We are down to our top 20. And I think you start this one, don't you? Because I did the last one.
Do I?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let me see. We're at
20.
Number 20. I don't like this movie, but I like the story narrative.
What is it?
Noah, 2014.
Wow. Going biblical on me with Noah, with Russell Crowe. Oh, geez, who was else?
Did you see that movie? Did you see that version?
The Russell Crowe version?
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to see it. Jennifer Connelly. A different kind of take on the and actually it kind of fit into my enclosed world model because all that rain that came down, it was like the sky was opening up. I mean, there were like torrents of rain coming from the sky, that couldn't physically come from clouds. But it was a total wipeout movie, and it was old school. As far as
I turned it off when I saw some kind of rock golems or something. I didn't know what
you know what the story was behind those, right? They were the fallen angels, and that God had cursed to earth and covered them in rocks. So they were sort of like demons that were guarding. I mean, it was Old Testament stuff. It was a really unusual. I just visually it was kind of a fun movie for me. But
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it if that's what it is. I don't know why I kind of looked at it and I was like,
yeah, watch. I mean, seriously, watch it if you get a chance. It's an interesting take. But yeah, it is a total wipeout. However, what I'm countering it with, I think, has a little more style to it, and that is the Book of Eli, 2010.
Oh, that's a good one.
With Denzel Washington, Gary Oldman as the bad guy, Mila Kunis, Ray Stevenson, Jennifer Beals.
That's a better movie. Wait a minute, that's a better movie. But again, if we're going apocalyptic level.
Okay, well, no. I think you maybe.
Do me a favor. Wait, you have the authority on this.
Right.
How does Noah end? If you tell me the ending, then I can tell you if you win or not.
Well, how does it end? Well, what you're talking about, the water comes in, wipes out whatever humanity's there, and then Noah, lands the ark on
right.
a thing, and then they start over. But no. I'm going to disagree with you on this, and that is, if we can come down to sort of a tie, whatever has the highest total apocalypse body count wins. But this isn't one of those. You already said Book of Eli is a better movie.
Oh, no doubt, yeah, but there was hope at that one, and there was a whole even beyond Eli, like there were still populations living out there. It wasn't a great existence, but there was Alcatraz with a whole new civilization being rebuilt, and it was kind of like a renaissance coming out of the Dark Ages. They had libraries and medical and.
Okay, so let me get this straight.
What?
You're going to back Noah even though you never even finished it?
Everybody knows the story of Noah.
No, that's like saying that that you're backing Titanic, the movie, without even watching it, because it wasn't. Everybody knows how the Titanic ended too, but it didn't win the Academy Award based on plot. It was based on the film technique. And
I'll give you Book of Eli is a better movie with a surprise ending, but if you're taking Book of Eli, then I'm taking Independence Day back.
Fine, you get.
I mean, let the audience decide. Let them call in or write in and yell at me.
No, yeah. If anyone, seriously, write in. We'll just, if it comes down to a tie, let me know. Book of Eli or Noah. Let me know. Email me at msargent23@com.
Yeah, let them do it right now because we're going out live over the air. So you guys are going to decide. I'm not going to decide this one.
All right. Yeah, whoever emails in, and I don't care if it's just one vote. Email me msargent23@comcast.net. Either Book of Eli or Noah.
And no playing like Diebold or anything like that. You have to be honest with the tally.
All right. No, I'm not. No, I'm going to be honest. Did you not watch Clue 11? I'm always honest at this point. All right. So moving on. I'm going to start this one, and I changed this one beforehand. This was not on my list after when we did the stuff last week, but I put it on my list this morning because I went on a hike this morning up Mount Sanitas up in Boulder, Colorado, and crawling. And we've had a lot of rain recently, so coming from the north where there was a tornado recently over Longmont, heading down towards Boulder, was a low section of clouds, kind of like a mist. Oh, see where I'm going with that?
I see where you're going.
And so the movie is The Mist, 2007, based on a Stephen King book. What it did was with neat little cast. Thomas Jane was the lead in that. He was great. A lot of character actors, and it was basically the U.S. military had opened up a portal like a Stargate, a giant Stargate, and basically let out an entire ecosystem of amazingly horrible dinosaurs and insects and everything into the Northeast United States, and it just started hammering the world. And it did not look, by the end of the movie, I mean, it had a dark ending, and by the end of the movie, you really thought within the last 10 minutes of the movie that the world was pretty much gone. But it's, for me, I liked it because it was a great little take on what people do in a crisis situation. Not necessarily an apocalypse situation, but a crisis situation, and the camps that develop and the methods of thinking. It's a neat little take on the human condition, which Stephen King is always good at. And it's one of his later works. So I thought that was kind of neat. So what are you countering The Mist with?
The Day the Earth Stood Still, 2008.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Right?
Yeah, because the remake with Keanu Reeves pretty much wiped out the whole world at the end, at least with an EMP pulse. But
we're so dependent on energy, even this phone call. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Our society, modern remakes of movies have that storyline they could throw in there in EMP. Whereas if you wrote that same story 200 years ago, they'd say, so what?
Yeah. You know what? You got that one because it's the the Day the Earth Stood Still, the remake, especially that remake. The Earth was in jeopardy the entire time, and that was it with Keanu Reeves, another Jennifer Connelly movie. Uh, Great. Yeah. I'll give that to
Can you imagine what's his name? Klaatu? Was that
you. Oh
Keanu Reeves?
yeah. Oh no, you mean the robot?
Oh, not the robot. I'm sorry, the main character. What was his name?
Uh,
Mr. Something.
Shoot.
Was he
Hang
formal
on.
about it?
Hang on. Day the Earth Stood Still, 2008. He played. What was the name of that character? It was, yeah, Klaatu.
Okay. Imagine him coming down to like a period like of like Little House on the Prairie, lands in that village. I mean, what are they gonna do? What's he gonna do to them?
Well, he's not going to do anything to them because there's nothing they can do to him.
Right, exactly.
They can't
But I'm
even.
saying it outside of a modern world that's already in decay.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. And actually,
we're always our own worst enemy, and we're like Rod Serling always shows. We're usually the monster.
yeah. Yeah. And actually, an EMP pulse wouldn't have done anything to, if he would have shown later in time, an EMP pulse would have been worthless. So they would
Right.
have had to gone. But yeah, I thought it was a decent remake. It didn't review that well and didn't make that much money, but it's still a good film, in my opinion. So I gave you that one.
Thank
All right, you get to open on the next one, number 18.
Oh boy. The Day After Tomorrow, 2004, which I think I said I think it's weak, but
Day After Tomorrow, 2004, and it's actually there's another Tom Cruise. I'm countering that with. Hang on one second.
wait, Day After Tomorrow is
Isn't that what you
isn't
did?
that Day After Tomorrow is what's his name? Dennis Quaid, right? Where he goes to save his son.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. I completely screwed that up. Day After Tomorrow. Yeah, where the entire Earth, the entire northern hemisphere gets stuck in the second ice age. Yeah. Big climate change movie. And I am going to win this one, thank God, because I'm still falling behind with a dark horse pick. And I guarantee you don't have this on your list. And it is a weird little movie, but I highly recommend it to people. And that is Perfect Sense from 2011. Interesting cast with this. Eva Green, Ewan McGregor, um, bunch of character actors, but it is an interesting film. And the whole premise behind it is Earth is getting wiped out by an epidemic, sort of like Contagion, but it's in stages. So basically what happens, you lose things like your sense of smell first, and then your sense of taste, after like another week. And then finally, you lose your hearing, and then you go blind. So you basically lose all your senses within a fairly short amount of time. But how society tries to adjust to that, like it doesn't wipe out society, but slowly but surely they have to compensate for it.
I never saw that one, but what's the time frame and duration of us losing your senses? How rapidly?
Maybe a couple weeks between each sense, something like
Wow.
that. Yeah. So
thank God you lose sight last, because at least you can still be mobile and get yourself somewhere.
Exactly. It's weird. It's an interesting film though, because you see not well, again, of course the world ends because it's a total, sense, all senses are gone. So what good are you?
And my apologies to anybody who's blind who's listening. That's not how I meant it. What I meant to say is that anybody who is struck immediately blind would not be able to adapt as quickly as somebody who lost their sight. Or, taste and smell are really, you don't need those to survive.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what
blind, it would take you longer to adapt.
Yeah, and that's what they showed during that was there's certain senses we can actually do pretty well without, it's like a convenience sense. But if all of civilization, became deaf and blind, we'd be in real trouble. So I'm going to take that one, and I hope people get a chance to watch it. It's not, your traditional action-packed blockbuster end of the world thing, but it does, give an interesting take on what happens when,
and then wait a minute, did they actually die after they're struck blind, after all the senses are gone?
Well, geez, man, they're not going to talk about it. Wouldn't matter. They're not
going
to.
No, I'm asking.
Well, it's assumed because at that point, all of civilization basically goes blind simultaneously, but by that time they have already lost every other sense. So, what civilization wouldn't just crumble; it would crumble immediately.
Well, the only reason I ask is because one of my favorite heroes of all time is Helen Keller, and if you ever read the stuff she wrote,
yep,
we might be better off with more deaf and blind people, because
I hear you.
And having a basis of knowledge based on knowing what the world looks like, you know what I mean? To go inward, be forced to go inward and be introspective and think.
Yeah.
I don't know. We might be better off.
Oh, we might, but in this case, there's no time to adjust. Not for something that
No.
big in the end, unfortunately. But it's an interesting film, and I'm of course a big Eva Green fan. So,
Most people looking at their smartphones because I'm driving out here in California, LA.
yeah.
It says they might as well be blind and deaf because they're not even paying attention half the time.
Nice.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what it was actually saying. Maybe it was a political message,
maybe,
or not a political, social message.
Maybe
we're actually becoming numb to our senses because we're tuning out.
Very possible. All right, so my next one I'm going to lead, and this one is also another one I guarantee is not on your list. And I caught this. I did not see it in the theater. Made almost no money. It was almost like I think it was a little independent film, but it was called The Day from 2011. In fact, the actors, most of the actors you're not going to know. Dominic Monaghan was in it. Sean Ashmore was in it. It was a very young cast. And basically the premise is a group of 5 people working to stay alive in a post-apocalyptic future, discover what they think is a safe abandoned farmhouse. They find themselves fighting to stay alive as a gang of bloodthirsty predators attack. It seems like a garden variety, end of the world, post-apocalyptic thing, but it's pretty fun, and it's got some neat little takes, and it's very realistic in my opinion. Very few plot holes, and it got me thinking even more, even though it was already in my little empty shelves survival thing, was they did, which I've never seen them do in a movie, and that was once they got to below 10 rounds of ammunition in their whatever firearm, they started counting down because they knew they wanted to save the last one for themselves. So it was like, 9, 8, and they would literally count out loud as they were shooting people because they knew when they got to 1, it's like, okay, what do I do at this point? And so it was an interesting take. So it was kind of a dark pick, but I'm sure yours is going to be stronger. So what do you got?
Yeah, and then we got to exchange lists after this because there's a lot of movies I need to see, obviously.
Well, yeah, I sent you mine, but you haven't looked at it.
No, I promise I wouldn't look at it.
Okay.
Planet of the Apes, all I put in parentheses.
Crap. All right. I've got that too. It's up a little higher, but yeah. Planet of the Apes. So you going to pick any one that's your favorite out of all the ones that are there? In fact, let me rattle them off for you since I know you don't have the list in front of you. Planet of the Apes, we always say, basically we that was an agreement he and I made, and that was you can only use Planet of the Apes as an all or nothing deal. Either you include all of them at the same time or none of them. You can't just pick and choose because the entire Planet of the Apes franchise is post-apocalyptic. And people don't understand that it was a huge moneymaker. So the original was in 1968. Then they made Beneath the Planet of the Apes 1970, Escape in 1971, Conquest in 1972. I mean, the thing just was a money machine. Battle for the Planet of the Apes 1973. Generic Planet of the Apes 1974, and then Return in 1975, the Tim Burton version in 2001, Rise of the Planet of the Apes in 2011, and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes in 2014. It's ridiculous, but yeah, you win on just freaking volume alone on that one. So,
yeah. and I hate to pull something like that because I like when there's a plausible. To me, if it's too far fetched, I don't know. I kind of same thing I feel with zombies. You know what I mean? I want something I can actually relate to and it could actually happen.
Yeah.
Because to me, monkeys taking over, and even if they were a little more advanced, if they had a little bit more intelligence,
yeah.
I'm sorry, we're pretty creative as humans. I mean, we actually designed some good things, like computers. We could use it. They would just be too limited, and I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I hear you. I'm totally digging. All right, we still have 5 more to do before the break. So
okay.
No, we got time.
Okay.
You are. No,
I won that one, right?
Yeah, you won that one. So you lead on this one.
Well, I'm throwing back at you what you threw at me earlier. Children of Men, 2006.
Okay, Children of Men, 2006. I am countering that with the original. I'm throwing a little one. You better give it to me. I'm countering with the original War of the Worlds, 1953.
Yes, absolutely, because it was then, not now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
War of the Worlds 1953. For those of you who have not seen it, I know lots of people have seen the remake. But the 1953 version,
You got to remember that's 60 years ago. Was so ahead of its time, and it is considered so iconic. It's a science fiction icon. The whole Klaatu, Barada, Necto, saying, is mimicked and put in games and books and everything that's science fiction. Lots of people like to use it because they're the words that don't exist in normal vocabulary. Fascinating concept where, again, in 1953, where a spaceship lands on Earth, basically condemns the human race and says that, you've got to act a certain way or else, and tries to lay down the law. But of course, we brace against it. It's like, who do you guys think you are? And, us against the aliens. And it's a great, great film. So I am taking it.
You got it.
And I'm still not winning. And I'm going to lead with this one. Excuse me 1 second while I take a drink of wine.
Wine. Ooh, I need a coffee actually.
Well, you can't because you're in a car, but I can drink because
I have some water here.
I'm not broadcasting from a Starbucks. I'm literally 20 stories underground at the NCAR facility up in Boulder, Colorado, which is actually just a cover for the NSA, but that's a whole nother thing. So I am leading with World War Z 2013.
Oh wow.
Yes, that's right. World War Z with Brad Pitt, and who was the lead in that, or the woman in that? It was Morel Enos. I don't know her. But decent film. Probably one of the most vicious zombie flicks you're ever going to see. It was, and I don't, there's lots of zombie movies to pick one, but this one was the zombie movie to end all of them, in my opinion. It was very fast because one, it used very fast zombies, and they swarmed like ants, which was a new take on it, which was kind of fun. A lot of CGI zombies. So what are you countering with?
Well, believe it or not, this is a tie.
Really? What
That's what I had on the list. World War Z.
All right. Well, should we do rock paper scissors?
I don't know. You want to do that again? Let's do it again.
All right. Ready?
You count.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Paper.
Rock.
See? You probably just gave that to me out of pity.
You think?
But that's fine.
I didn't think you go for paper a second time, but that's good.
I'm not going to do paper a third time. I'm just saying. All right. So number 14. You lead.
I think we're living it now. I put Idiocracy 2006.
Wow. Idiocracy 2006. Holy smokes. Any reason? Any particular reason other than we die of stupidity? And it's a lot of Saturday Night Live cast members.
I just think it's such an intelligent movie. A lot of people didn't like it. I tried to get Melissa to sit through it. They're just like, they don't get it. There's so many references. There's so many important points about the oldest profession still being the oldest profession.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it was genius.
It was.
And unfortunately, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. It was a smart movie, but because the whole plot was based on the stupidity of America. That was where that basically we were dumbed down so much that we almost ceased to function as a civilization.
Right.
It was so idiotic that I think it lost. You're right. The writing was lost in the plot.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. I'm going to counter that with something you probably haven't watched, and people who should probably watch this. Most people do not know that well, they do. In Hollywood, everything's done in pairs. Like Volcano was done with Dante's Peak, Armageddon was Deep Impact, and so on and so on. But Hollywood, it's like if some group can make money, another group can also make money. Most people don't know that Seeking a Friend for the End of the World with Steve Carell and Keira Knightley there was a darker version made of that, but the Americans didn't make it. The Australians did, and it was called These Final Hours from 2013. And what that movie did was instead of with Steve Carell's version, what they had like 2 or 3 weeks left, something like that. Where they got to do all their stuff. These Final Hours, which was set in Australia, they had 12 hours. basically they found out what, the meteor had hit, up in the north, North Atlantic or whatever, and there was a big shock wave coming, and it was going to hit Australia, the last part of the Earth, in 12 hours. And so, what do you do? What happens to a country in 12 hours when they announce that? And it was a way darker version, which was weird because it was so sunny in Australia all the time. So it was an interesting film. So
I love people that say, oh, if it was 12 hours, I would go out and have a nice meal at a restaurant, or I would do this, and I'd go get a massage. And I'm like,
oh no,
what makes you think there's going to be anybody there to serve you? Like you might find out that all of a sudden all those people that were serving you for so long might actually tell you how they really feel. Think about that.
Yeah.
They're going to be looking out for their own. Maybe they want to spend time with their own families, and
Yeah.
it wouldn't necessarily be chaotic. I don't think people would go crazy, but I don't think people would be there to serve you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. This was, and I'm taking this one. I'm going to use host privilege on this one because one, you didn't even know about it, and I don't think anyone's known about it. But check it out. You can rip it off BitTorrent. Not that I endorse that. You can find it places. It's a great little take. If you like Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, you got to watch this because this is the B side to that record, and you'll see what really happens.
Let me ask you okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What you got?
I was saying, what would you do if you only had 12 hours? Because we didn't talk about that.
I would try to be nice to people. No, I'd probably meditate. I'd probably be real quiet and just kind of reflect. Maybe hang around friends, and if anyone had trouble, I'd try to make them feel better.
Oh wow.
Yeah, sorry. We got two more things that we got to go for the break, and we got 2 minutes to do it in. So let's do this. Number 13, I'm going to lead The Matrix, 1999. Post-apocalyptic. The world is not only, the civilization is wiped out, and then humans are used as fuel, basically like an oil resource, an energy resource. So I got for number 13. What do you got?
The Day After, 1983. You used that one last week, I think.
I did. What do you want? You pick. You want it, or you think the Matrix is stronger?
Matrix definitely is stronger because the whole human race is decimated and it's under control, and it's pretty bleak. And they do it again and again and again. You got it.
Okay, thanks. I'm taking it, and we'll do this one before the break, and that is number 12. What do you got? You're going to lead.
The Road, 2009.
Wow, that's all the way down at number 12. I am surprised, and I will go into the Road detail. 2009. That's my top 5, and I'm not going to tell you where. And you're going to get that. You'll get the win on that one because mine was the original 28 Days Later from 2002. So, and for those of you who don't know, there was 28 Days Later in 2002, and then there was a sequel 28 Weeks Later in 2007. And the original 28 Days Later was a brilliant movie that was set in England, and that was one of the scariest things when it comes to Americans, and that is, because England doesn't have a lot of guns. In zombie movies, it's all about, guns and shooting zombies. But in England, there are no guns. There's very, very few guns in the civilian population. So what do you do? And it's even if the zombies aren't that fast, you got problems to deal with. So yeah, you're gonna get the win on that one. And when we come back from the break, we're into our top 11, and we're gonna break it down and see who wins.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
back to Strange World. We're talking about the end of the world. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, along with Jonathan out in Venice Beach, California.
Still here.
And special thank you for those people who have asked me, and I didn't bother mentioning it. That little riff, that little intro riff, is from an 80s track from Sisters of Mercy, 1987. Which was also one of the reasons why I included it, is the ending credits lead song on The World's End with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, an interesting movie, which it's not on my list, but it should be. It's an honor.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't. I swear to God, coming out of the break, I was going to be like, I have to ask what song is that, and you would have been like, you're doing it again.
Seriously?
I swear, because I was gonna crack a joke and say every time that song comes on, I start dancing in my living room like it's the '80s. You know, that sidestep shuffle that all white people did back in the '80s.
Yeah, and that track. You know, I'm a big '80s fan. You know, I love the '80s, and I thought I was up on all the '80s tracks because there wasn't that much, you know, musical diversity in the '80s, and that one completely blew by me. I know it's an English track, it's a British track, but you know, lots of British stuff gets over here. This one, I somehow missed it. So when I watched the video on YouTube, I was going, how did I miss this? This never got played on MTV or Night Tracks or any of the music stations in the '80s over here. It just was completely missed the States. So you guys,
I was going to ask at the beginning of the show, and now I have to thank the audience instead because they would have been thanking me. But thank you.
Oh yeah. So we are working on our top 11 apocalyptic films. You know, we're getting down there, and now we're getting into the heavy hitters. So I'm going to let you lead on number 11. So what do you got? What do you got for number 11?
This is so tough because I know you have a good deck right now.
I do have a good deck right now.
Book of Eli, 2010.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Book of Eli with Denzel Washington, and we were just talking about that one a little while ago. And a great film. I'm not going to ruin the plot. For those of you who have not watched Book of Eli, I can't give the spoiler on that one because it's too cool. But Denzel Washington kicks a lot of ass in that movie. He's gotten really good at that over the years. You know, even though he's gotten older, he doesn't show it. It's great. I'm countering that with 19. I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to do the dates first. I'm going to do Dawn of the Dead, 1978. And the reason I bring that one up into, you know, so high on the list is it was extremely influential. Everyone says, well, you know, the 1968 version of the original Night of the Living Dead, well, you know, that was a groundbreaker, and it was groundbreaking. But for me, it didn't. The zombie genre really didn't evolve until 1978 with Dawn of the Dead because it had a cool plot, which was, you know, some law enforcement, rogue law enforcement with some stragglers, you know, take over a shopping mall. And this was when shopping malls were new, mind you, in 1978. You know, the big malls. And they sealed it off, and everything was logical. And as I'm watching this, I'm just going, man, these guys are smart. Every move that was made in that movie, I just totally dug. And you know, and plus it was dark. You know, I don't think there was a ray of sunshine in that whole frickin' movie. The tone, you know, I really dug it. But I will leave it up to you because, you know, all's fair in love and war. What do you think?
I don't know. Do you think yours was more grim? I guess the ending. Yeah, I guess.
Because
apocalyptic was my criteria. Death toll.
Well, yeah, because the zombies had, as far as we know, it had spread at least all over the United States. We don't know how far, but it was pretty bleak. There were very few survivors, except for the occasional rogue biker gang. What do you think?
I mean, if you confine it to America, that's only 250 Americans back then, and how big is the world?
Yeah, all right, I'll give it to you.
Only on that point, if you're arguing it that way.
Yeah, you got a good one. Okay.
If it was India or China, we've never seen a Chinese zombie movie. Do they make them over there?
They may. But I've never watched one. Not to date. Okay, you're going to lead with this one, and you're going to know why afterwards. So, because you're going to get to go on your rant that you saved from last time. So,
I didn't write the year on this one, so you're going to have to fill in the year. But
okay,
I put Logan's.
What is it?
Logan's Run.
Oh, this is why I like you. That's actually higher on my list. Still higher. Logan's Run, 1976. I don't even have to look it up.
Okay, I was going to say 75. Thank you.
1976. Based on the 1967 book. And I'm doing this from memory, by the way, because this movie I've actually got this on my machine. Based on the 1967 book, made into a 1976 movie. Fascinating concept. What did you dig about it? Why is this so high on your list?
Oh my God. I mean, look who's in it. It's just a great movie. The fact that Farrah Fawcett's in it.
Yeah.
What do you no? No, isn't neat. And you had an age chip in your hand, and well, I mean,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. Let's put it this way. I will save because I've got a critique on this movie because this actually places in my top five.
okay.
But I'm going to counter with a movie which will lose to it because even though I consider it's a great movie, I'm countering with The Road Warrior 1981, not the 2015 version. And this is where I come in and I say because the 2015 version was on neither of no 2015 movie was on our list
Yeah.
to date, and I don't think there's going to be. The closest one that could have come would have been Road Warrior Fury Road, but it did not make it. Tell me why it did not make your list.
You asked me this last week, and oh man, that movie irks me. I've gotten in trouble on forums for actually voicing an opinion. You're not allowed to be a critic, it seems.
Yeah, and this was, for those of you who don't know, the original Mad Max was a 1979 Australian film which didn't do anything in the States. Then the 1981 The Road Warrior made it into the States, which was just revolutionary. It broke so much ground, launched Mel Gibson. And then the 1985 Thunderdome version, which was kind of, the Road Warrior light. And then nothing. No, that was basically it for the longest time. And then, flash forward 30 years later,
Right.
that they made Road with the same director, which was just weird. It's like, what have you been doing all this time, man? And
There's two. It's too new too. Fury Road's too new, and I can't really say anything because I don't want to give it away. It's not like it's an old movie that we would have all
don't
seen
give
by now.
spoilers, but say why it just didn't, because it scored unbelievably high.
I can't figure out why. I can't. It has no character development. It's ridiculous. The opening was like ridiculous. So, like, it was so dumb, and like they tried to do the same. I think it was the same director, George Miller.
It was the same director, absolutely.
Yeah, he tried to use like the camera cinematography that he did in the other ones, where he had that sped up, like when they were like on the transport. What do you call it? Like when they were jumping from the cars to the trucks.
Yeah.
He tried to do that speed up film thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't as edgy, or it wasn't shot the same way. It just felt contrived. It felt forced, and it almost looked ridiculous. It almost looked more like a Benny Hill clip you could have set music to.
Yeah.
It just didn't have that organic feel of that grittiness of the original Road Warrior, which was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But even like the tractor trailer, the thing was unstoppable. It was like Kit's big brother. It was like Optimus Prime on steroids.
Yeah.
And I got accused in the forums. They're like, oh, you must be like some film school actor film school director who, he's a failure and you'll never be as good as George Miller. And I'm like, why? Because I dare to like critique this movie.
Yeah.
And one guy was like, oh, do you think you'd be able to hit a moving target like with a Molotov cocktail or a bomb? And I was like, wait a minute. Have you ever thrown your buddy a beer or, on a motorcycle or, when you're out when you're kids, you match the speed, you ride parallel and you just toss it over to him or you hand it to him.
Yeah.
Bad example. I don't want to say I drink and drive.
No.
It's not hard to hit a moving target when you match the speed next to it. So, it's all these different things. And I'm just like, I can't suspend my belief that much when I watch those movies.
Yeah. I did not even see the 3D version, but for me, the thing, sometimes Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't know what else, some people use, excuse me, Metacritic or some of the others, but for me, it was because Rotten Tomatoes does a pass-fail grade. It's not like A through F. There's, and I probably would have given it a pass, but that's the problem. That's the weakness of a pass-fail grade, and that is if 96% of the people who love the first one, and again, you get extra points if the original director is directing it, because they're worshiping his work. Again, it's 96% people gave it a pass-fail, but it doesn't mean that it's a 96% approval movie. It's not an A movie in my opinion. There were, from a stunt standpoint, it was over the top and some of the finest car stunts I've ever seen in my life, because you could tell, there's a lot of non-CGI stuff used. I mean,
sure.
Yeah, it was great that way. But yeah, plot development, I think that I shouldn't pick too much, but yeah, it didn't make either of our lists.
Let me just say this: the guy playing guitar with all those speakers.
Oh, jeez.
All right, maybe once showing that once could have been cool. If he
Yeah.
was doing it back at the base, it would have been really neat. You could have played that character out.
Yep.
But just like this big juggernaut, like they didn't have the guy. Well, they had Max strapped to the front, which is a paying homage, paying
Yeah.
credit to the original, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't as terrifying. But this big thing coming through the desert with speakers, almost like like almost like a war drum, right?
Yeah.
It just wasn't as effective. It was just too. I don't know. It felt like a Nine Inch Nails video.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it just
That
didn't.
the guy with the guitar, he made it almost all the way to the end of the movie. I mean, practically made it to the end, and they used him too much. He was overused.
They used them way too much, and they should have made the music or whatever a little more sinister or scary, so that you actually felt like like when you're getting chased in a movie, it's like dum dum, or like the Jaws. It
Yeah,
should have been more like really really scary
you're
stuff,
right.
but it wasn't.
Yeah, you got a point there. They could have gone down that road. Anyway, that being said, I'm
We're
trying
going
to.
on too long about this.
Well, I know, I know. Well, it's all right. This will be the end of it. But I'm trying to lower expectations for people who haven't seen it. That way, you won't be disappointed. Because when I go to a movie, if it's scoring 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, man, there better be some really cool stuff. And then, in fact, now I'm just going to be skeptical from now
Right.
on. Anyway, that being said,
I went and
um,
saw it the same night as you, the first night it opened, and I was disappointed. I never do that, but because it was such a highly rated movie, like you said, I believed it.
yeah.
I believed the hype. So
Yep. Yep. There you go. So we are into our top 10, and at number 9, I am coming in with a movie that did not do much in the States, but I really enjoyed, because I was a big Planet X fan, and I'll give credit because Hollywood has still never done a Planet X movie, and the director in this case, Lars von Trier.
really,
Yeah, yeah,
you're putting that at 9?
yeah, I am. I am putting it at
Okay.
9.
Well, I'm gonna
But because
see you later on with it.
I was a bigger Planet X guy. I was a big Planet X guy when it came to that, and I thought it was dark. I loved the casting, and that is Melancholia,
Mm.
2011. Interesting cast. Lars von Trier. He's one of those European directors that gets a he gets actors. He can just, all he has to do is send make one phone call. I mean, Kirsten Dunst, Charlotte Gainsbourg, Alexander Skarsgård, um, Charlotte Rampling, John Hurt, Stellan Skarsgård, Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, it was a solid cast all the way around. And I like the fact that they never even mentioned the word Planet X, but you knew when you got to the end that that's what it was all about. And
Right.
so that was my pick for number 9. What are you countering with, my man?
Yeah, well, I can't beat you with this one, but it's one of my favorite movies. Soylent Green.
Really, I was thinking of using Soylent Green at one point. I'm still taking the win, but
So you have to take a win on that.
But Soylent Green, in fact, I got to look up the freaking year on that.
By the way, Melancholia is an ace, and it's in my. I'll tell you right now, it's in my top 3. So you're not going to win whatever you put up against it.
We'll see.
Because there's nothing better than blowing up the world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If again, those who haven't seen Melancholia, the first half of the movie, you're going to be you'll probably write me after the first hour and say, "What in the world?" Because the first hour is pretty slow. It's about a wedding. Her getting married, and she's obviously got some depression issues and having to deal with them. But the second half,
She has good reason to be depressed. She sees it coming.
she does, but she doesn't know what she sees. She feels it more than anything. But anyway, I love Lars von Trier. I mean, he has not made a lot of stuff, but man, he is. There's edgy, and then there's that guy, and plus he has a fear of flying, so he only shoots up in the up where he lives in that country. Soylent Green, by the way, for those of you who don't know, 1973 movie, with the world ravaged by the greenhouse effect and overpopulation. We had the greenhouse effect back then. A New York City Police Department detective investigates the murder of a CAO with ties to the world's main food supply. And it didn't age that well, but it's a great concept. Soylent Green. Should we give away the ending, or just not tell people?
No, it's an old movie. People should have seen it by now.
Yeah, you should have heard it by now, and that is Soylent Green is made out of
People.
It's made out of people. Basically, the government's, and it's not that far fetched. And that is what they did is they took people and they ground them into food pellets. That's basically what they did.
They look like colored Nutter Butter wafers or something.
Yeah, but for
Or those are the ones like the vanilla wafers. Yeah.
Yeah, but for 1973, it was interesting. It was pretty groundbreaking, and a neat little plot twist at the end. So,
Anyway, moving on. So I got that one. We'll tally up the scores here in a little bit. I should probably check my email and see if anybody wrote in, but I don't think it's going to be that close.
And by the way, the only reason I put that there,
Yeah.
because some people might be saying, oh my God, all the other movies you picked and you put Soylent Green, like the other movies, the planet was dying, like blowing up and whatever. I'm thinking, if it gets that bad that we're eating each other, and George C. Scott was his friend?
Oh, you want me to go down the cast on that one?
Yeah, who's the other guy, the main lead?
Okay, Charlton Heston, Chuck Connors,
Nope.
Joseph Cotton, Brock Peters,
Oh,
Dick. Oh, here's a little one for Dick Van Patten was in it.
That's right. Yeah, he was the doctor.
From Eight is Enough. Wow.
But remember his friend Saul? He was like a historian, and he knew the way the Earth was. He had a big book, and he had that guy.
That was Edward G. Robinson.
Edward G. Robinson. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
But he basically pointed out, he showed how the Earth was, and I think I put it right behind Logan's Run for that reason. It's about the Earth's resources dying off and all the plant and vegetation, everything,
Yeah.
So it was kind of in that vein.
Yeah. Would they? I don't know if it's feasible to recycle humans as food pellets.
Oh no. Yeah, no.
I think there's probably way more efficient ways of doing that.
Yeah.
But hey, it's not bad.
That's all.
It's good.
Okay.
We're on plenty of time. So,
good.
My number 8. I led last time, so you're going to lead this time. I think I got you on this one.
2012, 2009.
2012. With John Cusack. Yeah, 2012, the movie that got me hyped up for 2012. Of course, it was in 2009, and then when it didn't happen, actually the marketing on that was pretty clever, because when they did it in 2009, you had plenty of time to do it. I am countering that with the original Omega Man 1971.
Yeah,
that's a tough one, but I don't know. I'll leave that one up to you. The original 1971. I know we talked about this last time, but the Omega Man was the original version of I Am Legend with Will Smith, and only it was a little different. One, the zombies were a lot faster, a lot stronger. Apparently, they could also rip through steel and all sorts of stuff. Whereas the Omega Man was, the original end of the world post-apocalyptic thingy.
I think we discussed this after the show. Did you ever find out if that whatever that thing, that Will Smith was fighting, was it just isolated to Manhattan Island, and that's why they or did it escape and get across the whole country? Because they did go into Vermont at the end, right?
Well, yeah. Boy, now I got it. Okay, let me read
that. Makes a difference.
Oh, okay. Years after a plague kills most of humanity.
Ooh.
That should pretty much.
Yeah.
And transforms the rest into monsters. The sole survivor in New York City struggles valiantly to find a cure.
All right, my argument for any movie is this: if either Asia or India or South Africa survives, then as far as I'm concerned, the world survives. Because that's billions of people and plenty of resources and a perfect climate for regrowing.
Okay. Well, let me. All right. No, that's good. Let me look up Omega Man and see if the plot line is the same, though.
Okay.
Because maybe the Omega Man is less. Same thing. Army doctor Robert Neville struggles to create a cure for. They stayed pretty much on script. That wiped out most of the human race. So anyway,
mostly race. I'd give it to you.
Really?
I have to, yeah.
Okay. I'll take it.
You're desperate.
I am desperate. I'm bleeding out here. This is bad.
It's only like 4 behind me, right? Aren't we within 4?
I'm like 5 behind you. I don't think I can catch you at this point, but that's okay. Okay. Which we're number 7, right?
You're up. Yep.
Number 7. Do we have time? Yeah, we have time, and then we can draw this one out.
Okay.
So this number 7 for me was, and I got to make sure I look this up to get this right, because it was eventually remade into a made-for-TV movie, but it is the Andromeda strain from 1971.
Wow.
Which
I almost put that on my list and I didn't.
Yeah. How could? Now, do you remember the last time you saw it?
5 years ago, actually.
Yeah, it was not the greatest cast in the world. Most of them are character actors, but the premise was outstanding, because it was like a meteorite. It was basically the darker version of Evolution. That movie 2000 or 2001 that I was talking about with David Duchovny, where a meteorite hits the Earth, a small one, really small one, and it's got a little bit of virus on it, and it kills very, very quickly. It kills like 99% of the of any group that it's near, and it goes airborne very quickly, and it's horrible. And what you find out later, the most of the process is the neat thing about it is it's realistic. It's based on a book, uh, where in fact Michael Crichton wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of his early novels, Michael Crichton, and it was about how to how the CDC and the government quarantines things like that, and going through all the different layers. That was fascinating to me. The decontamination process of the human body. How they had to
Right.
get all these scientists into a sterile lab that was literally 20, 30 stories below a desert, a hidden laboratory in wherever it was, Arizona or Nevada or something like that. And they were trying to basically the problem solving that they had to go through. It's like, okay, that how to identify what the virus was. And I
Mm-hmm.
just loved it. It was very smart. Michael Crichton writes wonderful stuff, and they
Sure.
basically transferred it straight over, and I really dug it. So
And I'm going to ask you a question. It could be a spoiler alert, so cover your ears if you haven't seen this movie in the past 30 years. It's been out that long, right? 40 years.
40 years.
40 years. So you've had time to see it.
Yeah.
Didn't it come down to like blood alkalinity or something like that? Because I remember the baby was crying and they noticed that, I guess because it was exhaling so much carbon
Yeah,
dioxide.
yeah. The people that were surviving were the alkaline levels. So
Yes.
you were either hyperventilating because you were a child that was crying that had what's not their teething, something else. Maybe it was teething. But the
Hmm.
child that was crying all the time, or the bum that was drinking Sterno, and then there was like a third one, somebody that had a weird respiratory disease. But yeah, it was interesting how they found out how to at least isolate the virus. But the problem was they were under a time crunch because this virus was replicating, and
Right.
and it was very, very terminal. I mean, it was really, really quick, and they realized it's like, look, not only will the base get wiped out, but they were the fail safe was they would have to nuke the base. They had and don't this is very realistic in my opinion, and that is, fail-safe devices for labs like that is it's not that you have to call in a drone strike with a nuke. No, you have the nuke
Sure.
that's already down there. So
Sure.
all you have to do is, hit the timer on the nuke, and that's it. And part of the process was, um,
Now, go ahead. No, I was gonna say I didn't know what we were on time, but I think I won this one anyway because I didn't
okay,
nail
what
the
do you wait, what do
question.
you got?
Terminator 3 from 2003,
Hmm.
because we're
Yeah,
told that the hit
yeah,
rate.
yeah, and I'm going to give it to you, but here's why. Even though I think the Andromeda Strain is a better was well, obviously, was a better written movie. It's based on a Michael Crichton novel. Um, Terminator 3 did end with the entire world, 99% of the population getting wiped out.
Right.
Whereas the Andromeda Strain, even though it may have happened, it was possible, although we don't know what would have happened if, it could have crossed a body of water. Pfft, we don't know. But yeah, yeah, I'll give that to you just because.
I'm taking it.
Yeah, why not?
Find out was a worldwide thing. We know that for a fact.
Yeah. 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 And Terminator 3, for those of you who don't remember from the last one, Terminator 1 and 2, the world really didn't end. It was still set here I think they were both set in Los Angeles, weren't they? Terminator 1 and 2?
Yeah, it was a repeating loop thing. I think they all took place there.
Yeah. And then only in Terminator 3 did they, wipe it out at the end. And then Terminator 4, they went to the future. And then it became a post-apocalyptic movie. But it was like, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't that good. So we won't do one more. We won't do any more before we go to break. But how do you feel about your top six?
I don't know, man. You're pulling out some wild cards. It's ones I've never seen, so I don't know what you have up your sleeve here.
All right. Well, let me do a quick check and see how many wins do I
Go
have in
for it.
these last. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 10, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, there's no way I can win at this point. But I'm not going to concede. I think that finishing strong is still better than just bailing.
Keep a stiff upper lip.
I'm going to. I don't have enough to actually win this thing. And again, it's because of your paranormal training at the agency. So.
We're all losers on this list. If any of these things happen, that doesn't matter. There's no win-win here.
Yeah, but when we come back from the break, we will finish up our top 25 apocalyptic movies in film, and maybe discuss, I don't know, anything we want.
Let's just go to dead air, like an EMP.
Go to dead air.
Silent before the music comes on.
Nice.
Oh, there it is. Never mind.
Waking up the masses with Robert Bruce, Monday through Thursday on Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome back to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, here with Jonathan. Well, Jonathan's not actually with me. He's out in Venice Beach chilling, on the beach where I am actually, I still have drone strike training after this, which is, it's great. That's how my weekend's going. And he got to skip it because he's psychic, and so he knew it was coming, so he just skipped out. While we were at break, here's something interesting. A fan, and by the way, if you guys want to email me, at msargent23@comcast.net, because I know I still haven't done the phone things yet, but I will. I had some fan email with a correction on one of our film things, and I initially said that I Am Legend, the Will Smith movie, the original movie was that was based off of was the Omega Man 1971, and you would agree with me normally, right?
No, I wouldn't. Not in this case because I want to win. But go ahead.
Well, apparently, see this.
Yes, Mark. I'm on your side.
This is why we don't talk more.
I'm your friend at the end of the world. What is that? Seeking a friend for the end of the world. That's me.
My friend at the end of the world. That's great.
The end of the round world.
Nice. Apparently, for what I've been told, and I am looking this up, and I have no reason to dispute him. That actually the 1971. Omega Man with Charlton Heston was based off of a 1964 Vincent Price film called Last Man on Earth. I know, and I'm staring at it in IMDb, and it says when a disease turns all of humanity into the living dead, the last man on Earth becomes a reluctant vampire hunter. And you know what? He may be. It sounds awfully familiar. Replace vampires with zombies. He could be dead on. So, in fact, I'm looking at thing when a plague devastated life on Earth, the population died or became sort of a zombie living in the dark. Living in the dark. I think he's dead on. So, thank you. Yeah. And it was sent by Dave Knuckles. I don't know if that's your real name. I hope you didn't get too much crap in high school for that. But, because he would have heard, I get a knuckle sandwich. But sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good to me. You got the win on that one. Right. Honestly, I between Jonathan and I thought we had a cinema pretty much right. Although I got to tell you, The Last Man on Earth did not get a lot of rotation. You do not see that on even retro channels. So I may have to see if I can find a copy of that and download it. But yeah, interesting.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
And by the way, anybody, I'm open to criticism. I'm open to question. I'm open to fact checking. I appreciate people that are interacting like that, the audience. So yes, please.
Yeah. If you hear something that we rattle off and you say no, Usually that's how nerd arguments start. They start with the word
Yeah.
actually. They start with the word actually. And it's like, actually, it's like, I don't mind. Send me an email that says actually, and then in fact put that in the title, and I'll know what to look for because it'll be something that I screwed up on the show. All right, so number 6 on our top.
Where did we leave over? Did you go or did I go? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You go first. Go ahead. Number 6.
Interstellar, 2014.
That's your number 6. That's
You sound. I don't know if you're happy or surprised or like.
No, I
am
am surprised because that didn't make my list, but only based on criteria. I love the movie personally. For those of you who haven't seen Interstellar, and I don't want to get the cast.
Wait, Interstellar didn't make your list?
No, it didn't make my list.
Holy mackerel!
And it didn't make my list for a different reason though, and that was, yeah, I know it probably should.
Wait a minute. There was a time thing, but it's not like time got erased and rewritten like when you correct the paradox.
Yeah,
Earth was pretty much screwed, man.
Yeah, anyway. All right, Interstellar, Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Michael Caine, solid movie all around. And you're right. Where the premise is that basically our basic crops on Earth were getting wiped out by a plague. They called it the blight, and it was wiping out corn and okra and soybeans and just about all our main food vegetable staples were getting wiped out. And so they had to send but for me, I don't know. I treat it more like a space movie. You're probably right. I probably should have included it in there, but there were movies on my list that didn't make it, or in yours.
But they wouldn't have went if they didn't have to. I mean, they were pretty content living on Earth. They didn't want to go. I mean, he'd already retired. He wasn't about to go back for any other reason but to save his children.
Yeah. For me, it was more of a science-y, spacey movie. Plus, of course, again, I don't think I could, in all good conscience, put it on my list because it's a round Earth space movie. Oh.
See, I'm more of a if it ain't broke, if it ain't broken, don't fix it kind of guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, it was no, not knocking the movie. I mean, Christopher Nolan. You had Matt Damon make a great cameo at the end of that thing. Solid movie.
Those coolest robots ever. I would never have thought whoever artistically designed them, that was unique.
Oh yeah. Probably the best sci-fi robots in the game.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, high, and I mean blows, functionality blows the Star Wars robots just sideways. It doesn't even.
And visually, when they landed on that planet, I won't give it away because it is, again, I won't share any spoilers with new movies. Yeah. But that was intense what you saw in the distance, and you're like, what? Because your mind can't. It's one of those surreal things. It's like, what am I looking at?
Yeah. You're right. It was a good movie. No question. It probably should have been on my list. I treated it more like a space thing more than an end of the world thing. Even though the cut scenes back on Earth, they didn't look good. You didn't see a lot of the population. You saw the crops dying, but you didn't quite get the scope of it because you didn't see cities in chaos and horrible things. But it was implied. So you're right.
And if you really want to fault it for something, because I am very, I do critique movies too much,
yeah.
But the time slack thing, and they made it seem like they only had like 2 years and out in the beginning,
yeah.
But then they really screwed up on time, and they wound up, 50 years later, and people are still waiting for their message.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. The time crunch perspective was mind-boggling, and
they took liberties.
Sorry, go ahead.
They took liberties with it. They were able to, yeah.
Yeah, they did. I'm countering that with, and I think I'll probably lose, but I'm going to throw it out there, and that is Planet of the Apes, 1968. Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Damn dirty apes. I mean, they still run the planet, and they're still humans. The humans could always have a rebellion and come back now.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, but I want to defend Planet of the Apes, and just briefly, and that is, even though I'm going to give it to you. The Planet of the Apes, it made a whole bunch of sequels, but the 1968 version is considered to be one of the finest science fiction endings of any post-apocalyptic movie. Because at that point, up until that point, you didn't know it was a post-apocalyptic movie. You had no idea, and again, I'm not going to. I'll give away the spoilers because if you haven't seen it by now, then you've been missing out. The Charlton Heston, the original Planet of the Apes, 1968, where the iconic, where he gets the end. It's that twist ending where he runs into the melted Statue of Liberty on the coast, and he realizes that he never, he always came back to Earth. He just came back to Earth in the future, and mankind had pretty much wiped themselves almost into oblivion. And, to the point where they were just considered like almost, less than livestock. They were considered almost annoyances in the landscape. But Charlton Heston was outstanding. It was well done, well directed, well written. It was everything. It was just a great. That was one of those movies that just moved me, because it was, I was young enough that I actually saw it on television. I wasn't old enough to see it in the theater, but I saw it on television like early on. I was going, holy smokes, that was really, really cool.
And I'll put this into perspective. I mean, mankind, unfortunately, we kill each other now. We're the same species.
Yeah.
We wouldn't hesitate for a moment to use everything in our arsenal to kill apes. Think about that. I
Absolutely.
mean,
yeah.
Nobody's going to say, oh, PETA, No, it's not like that at that point. It's like survival of the fittest, and we're going to kill you. So they wouldn't even get off the American shores if the outbreak started in America.
Yeah.
We would drop, neutron bombs, short of maybe nuclear bombs, before that could continue. It wouldn't become a planet of the apes. It'd be a colony, or anyway.
Yeah. And also that movie, The Planet of the Apes, it spawned so much, it spawned a lot of money in adjusted dollars. I mean, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies made in the 70s. Followed by the Tim Burton version, which was very stylized. It was okay. That was the Mark Wahlberg version, followed by the very successful last two, Rise of the Planet of the Apes with James Franco, and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and I can't remember who the frick was the lead in that. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Oh, Gary Oldman. Jeez, I'm embarrassed. Sorry, Gary. If you ever listen to the show, he's one of my favorite actors of all time. It's like, oh yeah, who's in that? Gary Oldman. He plays in everything. But he never really stands out as much. He's always seems to be that great actor in the background. Anyway, so yeah, you got it. So, all right, I'm going to lead on number 5. You ready?
Go for it.
Okay. On the Beach, 1959.
Ooh. Pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Hard to beat that. Maybe threw down a king or an ace there.
I'll refresh for the people who didn't get it from last time. On the Beach, 1959, way ahead of its time. Gregory Peck, Ava Gardner, Fred Astaire, Anthony Perkins. Great cast, set in Australia. Basically, the United States and Russia had hammered each other with nuclear weapons, and they and the fallout was basically spreading across the world. And the last place to get hit was going to be Australia. So they had a limited amount of time, the resources wasn't necessarily a problem. People are basically just opening up their wine cellars and racing cars and getting drunk and trying to enjoy themselves. And it was an interesting, and Gregory Peck was a submarine commander from the States. They were basically looking, they were the ones that had to deliver the bad news. It's like, look, the rest of the planet's contaminated. You're going to be contaminated too. I don't know if that's exactly true, in a globe situation, if the weather would carry the radiation that far, but maybe it would. But way ahead of its time in 1959, way ahead of its time. What are you countering with?
That's the good thing about living on a globe. Those people don't have to worry about that. Flat earthers, forget it, man. Everything goes across the land flat, and everybody gets contaminated.
Yeah. Yeah.
That said, do you know if everybody died in that movie?
Oh yeah, everybody died in that movie. It was a total wipeout. In fact, that was one of the last scenes was all the empty streets in Australia. I don't know if it was Sydney or it was any of the others. That basically you just saw empty streets because everyone decided they were going to be in their houses when the radiation hit. So,
oh boy,
bleak movie from 1959. I mean,
yeah, no doubt.
So, what are you countering with?
I don't know if this ties or not. I might have a strong one here. I'm going to have to leave it to you. Ready? AI, 2001. It was the last time that kid was ever cute.
That's a good movie. However, I'm going to take it in advance just to where the heck is AI? Wait a minute, artificial. Hang on.
That was Haley Joel Osment. He was still a cute little kid after The Sixth Sense.
Right. Haley Joel Osment, Francis O'Connor, Jude Law, William Hurt. Yeah, decent decent cast, good movie. I think Steven Spielberg. Yes, Steven Spielberg directed. Good movie, solid science fiction movie. Post-apocalyptic, yes, but I'm gonna take it on total body count.
Okay.
So I have to, man, because I'm getting slaughtered here.
Did everybody die in AI though, or no? I don't
Everybody,
remember.
no, an AI, no.
At the end when the aliens came.
When they got to the frozen part, you don't know. All you know is that it was probably what is it, like 100. I know, I'm copping out here.
I'm gonna give it to you. You're like desperate now. You're treading water, but okay.
Was it 100 years in the future? 1,000.
You threw an ace and I threw a king. All right,
Okay,
you
AI
win.
combined a different ending because basically what they did was they said, okay, once the kid goes in the water, we're going to flash forward to the day after tomorrow, and then 100 years past that, or 1,000 years past that. I'm going to have to watch that movie again to see how much time elapsed. But you had no idea what happened to the human race, only that they were gone.
Right.
I'm assuming that they went to the stars. They actually got rocket ships and left.
Oh, that's a great point.
Thank you.
I hadn't considered that. If they have all that technology, why not?
Yeah. What? Who knows?
You know what?
What?
Steven Spielberg's listening. He might make an AI part 2 because the little boy gets revived at the end, even for a day.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's possible.
Interesting.
Okay. Number 4, you lead. You got
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 78.
Oh man, that's such a good one too, and I'm really thrilled that you actually picked the 78 version because I think that was the Donald Sutherland was excellent in that.
Yeah,
and in fact, the 19 who else was in that? That was 1 second here. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. I love that that's the first one that comes up on IMDb.
If you did a montage of 100 famous movie clips, it would be his face with that pointing and that looks like he needs a tissue on the thing.
I mean, Jeff Goldblum was in that, young in 1978. Wow. Leonard Nimoy was in that. Veronica Cartwright, Brooke Adams. But yeah, that was very, very good. Outstanding movie. I'm countering that with The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951. So I don't know. Boy, it's a tough one because The Day the Earth Stood Still was way ahead of its time, but 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers I think was the best out of the 4 invasions that they made because it was all the same movie. For those who don't remember, they made it in the 50s, the 70s, the 90s, and the 90s was probably the weakest one. Sorry to Meg Tilly who was in that. And then the 2000 version with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. I don't know. You want that one?
You like it? I don't care at this point. It's cool.
All right, then I'm taking it. Sorry, man. I've already lost. I'm just trying to save some dignity at this point.
You know what? I was thinking about what you said about nerds fighting over points, and I'm an arch nerd. I don't fight. I'm not to the regular convention. Like I'd rather increase my knowledge base in being wrong, or at least just feign being wrong, so I can hear my opponent's strategic thinking.
It's good.
And then incorporate it into my own later on. I want to find out your weakness, Mark.
I have a couple weaknesses. It's true. Yeah,
cookies, obviously.
Cookies, yes. Don't forget, people. Cookie people. Oh, I'll mention that at the end. All right, we have 9 minutes. So we're to the last 3. Okay, number 3. I am leading with Logan's Run, 1976. And this is where I get to talk briefly about Logan's Run, 1976. The reason why that ranks so high on my list, it's post-apocalyptic, but it is proof positive. You want to know what the authority, what the powers that be can do to you. Logan's Run wasn't necessarily about a post-apocalyptic world. It's obvious the world had been destroyed and there was a new utopian society built on top of it. It was that utopian society was built, and they had on a belief system that everyone should die by the age of 30, which is different from the book. The book was actually the age of 20, but the age of 30, they are reincarnated. So you have these little chips in your hands that let you know how old you are. And when you get close, when you get to your 30th birthday, they send you up into a big carousel thing, into this like a giant bug zapper, and you get disintegrated, and you're supposedly reincarnated. But basically the population bought into that. And that's how the population worked. And think about it. If the entire population is 30 years or younger, your healthcare costs are almost non-existent. And you get to, people, recreation was huge. People did a lot of fun, a lot of partying. It was a lot of, a lot of automation. So you had a lot of free time, and it was truly a utopian society. But it was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But it was somewhat sinister because it was all fake. The computer system had convinced the automated the artificial intelligence had convinced people that they should not live past the age of 30. And that's what, and 99.9% of the population bought into that. So that's why it was an interesting thing for me. I totally dug that. He was like, look, if you want to build a utopian society, that's actually not a bad way to go, because the population doesn't know any different. They're blissfully ignorant of their situation. So if you want to know, it's like, yeah, how does that relate to anything I've been talking about lately? Oh, I don't know. You've been told you've been in a globe for the last 500 years. Who's going to argue?
And I think that movie featured the first online dating system, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Where you stepped into the machine.
Yeah, video dating system. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was a fun movie. I totally dug it. Plus, it won, again, based on a 1967 book, won Academy Awards for special effects, even though they were horrible. They aged so terribly. Anyway, what are you countering that with?
The Matrix, all of them.
Ooh. Right. If you're going to tack in all the Matrix, I suppose. All right, I'll give them to you.
Yeah. Didn't we say we had to group the Matrix? Because really it was 3 movies that were broken down for the sake of making a franchise, but it was really one complete story at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I'd take the Matrix over an overall story. I mean, I liked the potential story of Logan's Run, but the Matrix is going to go down as one of the, the great trilogies. Even though there's some people say, oh no, 2 and 3 sucked. It's like, no, it's because 1 was so good that it was almost impossible to compare the other 2. If they would have led with the other 2, you would have been fine. You would have been happy. I mean, honestly, I don't think they ever thought they were going to make a trilogy out of that thing. But all right, we're coming down to our last 2. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. You start on this one.
Knowing, 2009.
That made it all the way to number 2 on you.
Yeah, the end of the world. Boom.
Wow. And any other reason why? I mean, just that it was just so brutal at the end and just a big punch in the face.
I don't know. I don't like Nicolas Cage.
Oh, so it was fun to watch him burn.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
I know.
He gets.
You want that? Go ahead.
Oh, he gets a lot of work. So,
He does. I mean, I like his movies, but he just, I don't know.
He bugs you.
Ever since I saw him in City of Angels, he was staring in the mirror. He looked like a psychopath. And I'm thinking, thank God you can't see him. Remember that movie, City of Angels?
Yeah.
He had that grin on his face. He was just like man. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I dug him. I dug him in quite a few movies. I was glad that he was not chosen for the Superman remake in the 90s, early 2000s.
I liked him in National Treasure. I like him in Next. There's a lot of movies I do like him in. One of my favorites, Lord of War.
Oh yeah, he was excellent in that.
He was phenomenal in that.
Yeah.
His voice and his body style, everything I thought was perfect for that movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he's but that's what you. That's that. No, I'm just so you know, I'm taking this one in advance. Here's why.
Go ahead.
I liked Knowing. It was part of my top 25, but I consider The Road from 2009. I consider that one of the greatest, darkest, most bleak. You got to remember, man. It's the only The Road, 2009. The Road. Viggo Mortensen.
His son lived with those other people who were actually good people, and they had a dog and everything. Like, civilization was going to rebuild itself.
Dude, okay. I don't argue with you that much, and we still have number 1 to go. But here's the thing. One out of all the movies, right, that we've talked about over the last 2 shows, this is the only one that was based on a Pulitzer Prize-winning book. Right? The Road won a Pulitzer. It was so bleak. I think I had to sit out in the sun with a bottle and like a jug of wine and try to get my mood back up, because it was so brilliantly bleak. It was so dark, so wonderfully shot.
You were shell shocked, huh?
Oh yeah, I was like going, this is the most realistic thing I've ever seen as far as a post-apocalyptic. It's like, the fact that he carried 2 bullets around in his gun and he taught his son, it's like, look, you kill yourself, you kill me, then you kill yourself. Or the fact that Charlize Theron, look at the cast in that. Robert Duvall, Guy Pearce was the dark horse at the end.
Sure.
So I'm sorry. I'm going to take that. For those of you who haven't seen it, The Road, 2009. And normally I talk more, but we're running out of time. So we got one more left. My number one, I'm going to give mine first, and then hopefully we'll see what yours is. My number one is a movie that I guarantee almost nobody's seen. And the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm a big Michael Bain fan from Aliens, and The Rock. For those of you who don't know who Michael Bain is, look him up. And that was a movie that never really, I think it went straight to video, and that's called The Divide. 2012, where a bunch of people in New York, I think it was New York, after like an atomic weapons attack, they went down to a bomb shelter underneath a major building, and it was basically dog eat dog for the entire movie and how people just degraded into horribleness. And it was like The Road, only much more intimate because it was just this small little room, a little bomb shelter underneath this building. So Michael Bain, the Divide 2012, I highly recommend it.
But it was only focused on that one group. You don't know if there were other groups that survived.
Well, yeah, but when you saw him walk outside at the end, so you watched it.
No, I'm just saying you don't know. The camera's only focused. The story narrative is only.
The last survivor of that thing walked out of there in the end, and you could tell that it was, the world was just trashed, and she was not going to last very long. It was also not a very happy movie. But you've got like a minute to hit me with your best film.
All right, Melancholia, 2011. Everybody dies.
All right.
I love movies where everybody dies. There's no hope. There's no, it's like the Death Star. Boom, game over.
All right, I'm gonna give it to you because at the end, and he kind of gave it away. Planet X, pretty much.
Oh no,
no, it's okay. It's all right.
The beginning of the movie gives it away. All right, go ahead.
The movie gives it away. Melancholia really is the Planet X movie, and that one, babe, just goes in and wipes out the end of the world. So yeah, good. I think we did a nice job. That's about it. Next week we're actually interviewing our first guy. It's gonna be Crow 777. It's gonna be a great show, and you'll totally dig it. And you get any parting shots from Venice Beach
before the show started? I said you're gonna be surprised by my top pick.
Yeah.
Which that wasn't the surprise. I'm gonna tell you off air, and then you can announce it next time we go live. And you're gonna be like, "You son of a gun."
Okay. All right.
I pulled the psychic angle on you, and you'll see why.
Yeah, he killed me. I'll give the score next week, but I'm sure it's. I'm sure you know. Anyway, see you next time.
How bad is it, sir?
It's not good, but at least she's not beginning to crack up. She's beginning to crack up.